The day my father was buried should have been about honoring his life. Instead, it became the day my brother destroyed his own. And it all started with a watch. Not just any watch, a gold Rolex that had been in our family for over 40 years. A watch my father treasured more than anything he owned. A watch my brother stole from his dead body, and he almost got away with it. My name is Daniel. My father, Richard, passed away at the age of 72 after a long battle with cancer. The last year of his life wasn't easy. But through all the treatments, hospital visits, and sleepless nights, one thing never changed. His watch. Every morning, he put it on. Every night he placed it on the nightstand beside his bed. When I was a kid, I used to sit on his lap and listen to the soft ticking sound. Dad always joked that the watch worked harder than anyone else in the family. Maybe it did. The watch wasn't valuable because of the money. Sure, it was worth thousands, but its real value came from history. My grandfather bought it after returning home from military service. Then he gave it to my father on his wedding day. For decades, it became a symbol of our family. Dad often said he planned to pass it down to me one day, not because I was the oldest, because I was the one who cared about family traditions. My younger brother, Jason, never cared about traditions. Jason cared about money. Growing up, if something wasn't worth cash, it wasn't worth his attention. As adults, that attitude only got worse. Failed businesses, credit card debt, loans he never repaid, excuses for everything, responsibility for nothing. By the time Dad got sick, Jason was drowning financially. Collection agencies called constantly. His truck was being repossessed. His marriage was falling apart. And everyone knew it, including Dad. 3 weeks before he died, Dad called me into his hospital room. He looked exhausted. The cancer had taken most of his strength, but his mind was still sharp. "Daniel," he said quietly. I sat beside him. "What is it?" He looked toward the door to make sure we were alone. Then he removed the Rolex from his wrist. "I want you to have this." I immediately shook my head. "Dad, no." His voice was firm. "Listen to me." I stayed silent. "If something happens, don't let Jason near this watch." My stomach tightened. "Why would you say that?" Dad laughed softly. "Because I know my son." The sadness in his voice hurt. "He needs help," Dad continued, "but he won't accept it. He thinks every problem can be solved with someone else's money." Then he placed the watch into my hand. "Promise me." I nodded. "I promise." Dad smiled. That was the last serious conversation we ever had. He passed away 11 days later. The funeral was held on a cold Thursday morning. Hundreds of people attended, former coworkers, neighbors, friends, family members. The church was packed. Everyone had come to honor a man who spent his life helping others. Everyone except Jason. Jason was there for a different reason. I noticed it almost immediately. While people were grieving, he kept looking around, watching, waiting, calculating, the same way he always did when money was involved. After the service, family members were invited to a private viewing before the casket was closed. Dad looked peaceful. For the first time in months, he wasn't suffering. People approached one at a time to say goodbye. Then Jason stepped forward. At first, nothing seemed unusual. He stood beside the casket for a few moments, head lowered, hands folded, playing the role of grieving son. Then I saw his right hand disappear beneath the edge of Dad's suit jacket. Only for a second. Then he stepped away. Something felt wrong, very wrong. But before I could process it, other relatives moved forward. The viewing ended. The casket was closed, and everyone left for the cemetery. It wasn't until later that afternoon that I realized what had happened. After the burial, several family members gathered at my parents' house. While helping Mom organize paperwork, she suddenly looked up. "Where's your father's watch?" My heart stopped. "What?" "The Rolex." I immediately knew. Jason, I rushed upstairs, called him, no answer, called again, nothing. Then I drove straight to his house. When he finally opened the door, I didn't even say hello. Where's Dad's watch? Jason blinked. What watch? The Rolex. His face changed for half a second. Then he smiled. I don't know what you're talking about. The lie was obvious. I stepped closer. You stole it. Jason laughed. You sound crazy. But he wouldn't look me in the eye. That told me everything. I left before I did something stupid. Instead, I called the police. At first, they weren't optimistic. There were no witnesses, no video, no proof, only suspicion. But something unexpected happened. A detective asked a simple question. Was the funeral home equipped with security cameras? I hadn't even considered it. The answer changed everything. Yes, the viewing room had cameras, not directly focused on the casket, but covering the entrance and surrounding area. Police obtained the footage. 2 days later, Detective Harris called me. His voice sounded very different, confident. We need you to come in. When I arrived, he played the video. My stomach twisted. The footage clearly showed Jason approaching the casket, looking around, then reaching inside his father's jacket. Seconds later, he stepped away. Something shiny disappeared into his pocket. The detective paused the video. Looks like your brother had sticky fingers. I felt sick, not relieved, not satisfied, just sick. Who steals from their own father's body? Apparently, Jason did. Police obtained a search warrant. The watch wasn't at his house, which meant he'd already gotten rid of it. Fortunately for us, Jason wasn't very smart. The Rolex was rare and expensive. Detectives contacted local pawn shops. 3 hours later, they found it. Jason had sold it the morning after the funeral. For less than half its value. The owner immediately recognized him from security footage. Now police had everything. Video evidence, pawn records, witness statements, a timeline. The case was over before it started. When officers arrested Jason, he tried every excuse imaginable. He claimed Dad gave him the watch. False. He claimed it was his inheritance. False. He claimed the family misunderstood. Also false. Eventually, the truth came out. Jason needed money. Again, his gambling debts had reached nearly $50,000. Loan sharks were demanding payments. And he saw Dad's watch as an easy solution. So, while the rest of us were grieving, he was planning a theft. Even worse, investigators discovered he had stolen more than the watch. During Dad's final weeks, Jason had secretly taken cash from his bedroom, sold several collectible coins, and withdrawn money using an old bank card. The watch was simply the first time he got caught. My mother was devastated, not because Jason was arrested, because she finally had to face reality. For years she defended him, protected him, excused him. Now there was no excuse left. One evening, she sat at the kitchen table staring at Dad's photograph. I failed him. I knew she wasn't talking about Dad. She was talking about Jason. I sat beside her. You loved him. Maybe too much. Neither of us spoke for a long time. Sometimes the hardest truth isn't discovering someone you love is broken. It's realizing you've been helping them stay broken. 3 months later, the court hearing took place. Jason looked exhausted, older, defeated. The arrogance was gone. For the first time in his life, consequences had finally caught him. The judge reviewed everything: the theft, the fraud, the pawn records, the surveillance footage. Then he looked directly at Jason. I've seen many theft cases in this courtroom. The judge paused. But stealing from your own deceased father during his funeral may be one of the most disgraceful acts I've encountered. The room went silent. Jason stared at the floor. He couldn't argue, because it was true. The judge ordered restitution, probation, mandatory counseling, community service, and a criminal record that would follow him for years. When the hearing ended, Jason approached me outside. His eyes were red. For a moment, I almost felt sorry for him. Almost. "I'm sorry," he whispered. I looked at him carefully. Then I asked the same question I had asked many times before. "For what?" He opened his mouth. Nothing came out. Because he didn't know. He wasn't sorry he hurt Dad. He wasn't sorry he hurt Mom. He wasn't sorry he stole. He was sorry his actions finally had consequences. I walked away. 6 months later, the Rolex came home. The pawn shop returned it after the legal process was completed. I placed it inside a wooden display case in my office, not hidden, not locked away, displayed proudly. Every morning I see it. Every morning I remember my father, his wisdom, his kindness, his integrity, the values he spent his life teaching me. And every time I hear the soft ticking sound, I remember something else. Character isn't revealed during easy times. Character is revealed when nobody thinks they're being watched. My father spent his life helping people. My brother spent years taking advantage of them. One legacy built trust. The other destroyed it. The day my brother stole Dad's watch at the funeral, he thought he was stealing a valuable piece of jewelry. What he really stole was the last bit of respect people still had for him. And when the police arrived, he finally learned a lesson my father tried teaching him his entire life. Sooner or later, every debt comes due, and eventually, even family can't save you from yourself.